Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am your host, as always, Paisano. If you're new to my channel, welcome. We talk about rock and roll here. And if you've seen any of my videos and not yet subscribed, please do. I love my subscribers, new and old, and I love comments. Please leave comments. I love to know what you guys are thinking. Alrighty, let's talk about Pink Floyd and their 1988 live album, The Delicate Sound of Thunder. This was a document of the tour that took place in 1988 for A Momentary Lapse of Reason, which was released in 1987, which was the first new Pink Floyd since Roger Waters left the band in 1985. I hadn't realized that he hung on that long, or that they were considered a band that long, considering they hadn't done anything since the final cut in 1983. So I guess it was a band meeting between Nick Mason, the drummer, David Gilmour, guitarist and vocalist, and the manager. And I guess they sat down with Roger Waters and discussed things, and I guess everybody left thinking something different. Roger Waters was thinking they were done, and Mason and Gilmour thought that they could continue with Roger Waters following Roger Waters' album release and tour, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, which was released in 1984. Both of them were wrong, because Pink Floyd, when they realized that Waters wasn't coming back, they decided to kind of go out on their own, although it didn't start out that way. Momentary Lapse of Reason started off as a David Gilmour solo project and turned into a Pink Floyd project when he brought Rick Wright back, although he still wasn't under contract, but he was brought back to play. And Rick Wright appeared on this live album. And there's not a lot of information about when this was recorded. It says on the back, I believe, recorded August 1988, or somewhere in here, August 1988. And they didn't play in August of 88. There were only a handful of venues that it could have been in August of 88. They were in Europe, they were in England, and they were in the United States. So it's really not too specific about where these live excuse me, where these live recordings, what venue they took place at. But nonetheless, it's a great sounding live album. Starts off with a lot of newer stuff. Well, actually, it starts off with Shine On You Crazy Diamond, but then you get into the songs from the Momentary Lapse of Reason album. And side 2 is dedicated to the older Pink Floyd stuff. They did their best with the Roger Waters parts where he would sing. But overall, a good live album, and Pink Floyd wasn't known for live releases, so this was kind of a big deal at the time. They, very, very sparse as far as live material. But this was a double album, and I acquired this album. This album was a birthday gift, I believe. It came out in November of 1988. My birthday's in December, and I'm 99% sure this album was given to me by my friend Stu. I don't think I bought this one. If I remember right, Stu gave it to me for my birthday, which would have been my 21st birthday in December of 1988. So, yeah, it was a nice gift from Stu. Let's take a look at the back album. A lot of, abstract photographs and images. Typical of Pink Floyd. Yeah. Very typical. Shot of the band on stage. Yeah, they put on quite the spectacle. I ended up seeing Pink Floyd in 1994, I believe, when they released another album. What the hell was the name of it? The Division Bell. It was the Division Bell tour. I saw it in Foxborough, Massachusetts, at the football stadium, the old stadium before they built Gillette. And it was a great show. It really was. It was really something to hear. Gilmore live is one of my favorite guitar players, no doubt. Yeah, memorable night, cold night for May, I believe. It was misty and about 38 degrees, but I was in my mid-20s. It really didn't matter much, you know. Great night. Let's go over the track listing. Side 1 starts off with an old a classic from Wish You Were Here, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Then we start to get into the newer stuff from the 90s, Learning to Fly, yet another movie, Round and Round. Side 2, Sorrow, The Dogs of War, and On the Turning Away. Now side 2 is where we get into the old school Pink Floyd, One of These Days, off of Metal. That must have been kind of a surprise. That hadn't been played in a while, I'm sure. Then you got Time, Money from Dark Side of the Moon, another Brick in the Wall, Part 2 from The Wall. Then it finishes up side 4 with Wish You Were Here from the album Wish You Were Here, Comfortably Numb, and Run Like Hell from The Wall. Yeah, they really stretch out on these. Some of these are some pretty long songs, played pretty faithfully to the originals. Some shots of the band as they were in the mid-90s. The Roger Waters, Pink Floyd. Had a whole bunch of musicians playing on this. Whole bunch of musicians. Full stage show. Backup singers, horns, saxophones, percussion, whole kit and caboodle. Check out the other album. Oh yeah, the jacket. Yeah, it's played pretty nicely. No major skips or anything. Delightful listen, and listen to it from start to finish in quite a number of years, if ever. Listen to the whole thing at once. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. What will Paisano dig up next week? Tune in. Find out. Until then, thank you and good night, YouTube.